So today I will be describing sentence fragments. I will describe what it is, how to find it, and what you can do to correct it. So first, what they are. Most fragments are incomplete sentences. Usually fragments are pieces of sentences that have become disconnected from the main clause. One of the easiest ways to correct them is to remove the period between the fragment and the main clause. Other kinds of punctuation may be needed for the newly combined sentence. Some examples of what a complete sentence is and what they mean is usually a complete sentence has three components. First, a subject, which is the actor of the sentence. Second, a predicate, which is the verb or the action. And then third, a complete thought, which can stand alone and make sense. It's independent. An example is John waited for the bus all morning in the rain last Tuesday. An example of fragments without a subject is slammed the door and left. This has no context or anything, and if one would read this, they would be confused. So a revision to that would add a name and say, Sarah slammed the door and left, and then Sarah would then be the subject. The second one is discovered the cure for the disease. Yet again, doesn't have much context in there and doesn't have a subject, so the revision would be, the researcher discovered the cure for the disease. With the researcher being the subject, it makes the sentence more complete. Third, gave many reasons but no logical ones. This yet again makes no sense and we need a subject. So by adding our boss in the revision, it would make it complete, saying our boss gave many reasons but no logical ones. This then helps the reader make sense to the sentence. Examples of fragments without a verb. These are some examples of fragments you might find in your writing or others that don't have a verb in it. Clothes and shoes scattered around the room. This doesn't make much sense because it just is stating something without a verb, and so we would have to add were in the revision to make it make sense. Clothes and shoes were scattered around the room. The next one, Sarah showing her award and gloating. This one could be confusing because it sounds like it's complete, but it's still missing a verb, and so it would still be a fragment. So the revision would be Sarah was showing her award and gloating. The third one, the elected president for our country. This one really doesn't make sense if you were to read it because there's no verb and it just doesn't feel completed. So the revision we could do, the elected president for our country was unpopular. Examples of fragments that are dependent clauses. This is going to be where you might find a dependent clause that cannot stand by itself, and with that being, it won't be a complete sentence and make it a fragment. So the first one is because it was raining. That one's a fragment, and we're going to have to add something to make it to where it can stand by itself and make it be a complete sentence. So the revision we could do, we canceled the picnic because it was raining. The next one, after I finished the project. And a good revision to this would be adding I will get a bonus in the beginning of it to say I will get a bonus after I finish the project. And this just adds it and makes it complete. Another fragment would be to explain why that happened. This yet again could be a little tricky because it seems like it's complete and that it's right, but there's no context and we still need to add something to fix the fragment. So we would say he neglected to explain why that happened. Here are some ways for you to be able to find fragments on your own. Look for subordinating clauses at the beginning of sentences, and some examples of these could be like after, because, then, from, and that could be making yours have fragments. And then look for any dependent clauses that can't stand alone, which are the ones that we just talked about. And then find the verb, and if the verb's there, then it's going to be a complete sentence, and find the subject. And if you can check off that the subject's there, it will also be a complete sentence, and you will not have any fragments in those.